Okay, gentlemen. So we, as we discussed before, we the couple of weeks ago we run a post, which was if you was. So I'm going to try and get up on the screen now, but I'm fading. Hang on 1 second. Yeah. So the post was if you. I don't know if you can see that. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So if you woke up this morning as the head of the British Boxing Board of Control, what would be the first things that you tried to change about the sport? So we had a variety of questions. We had a variety of responses. I tried to pick some of them. I thought it would be interesting to discuss whether they're good ideas and if they were feasible. So I'm just going to get the first one up. Sorry, gents. I think so. We're going to start with this one. 1 sec. Good view in this.
What wine you on, Dave?
Sorry?
What wine are you on?
It's a good wine. It's a nice one.
Pinot Grigio. Okay, so we'll do the first one. So this is about corner people. Martin Theobald, you've thrown one in here. I pulled that in as well. So we'll group the two together. So David Fallon has said only the trainer in the second in the corner, so nobody else. And Martin has said isotonic drinks allowed in the corners. So, gentlemen, that is the subject. If you'd like to discuss, Steve, if we start with you, what's your view on those two if you was the head of British Boxing and can it be implemented? Steve?
The Wi-Fi's gone.
Oh, my God, he's £10 Wi-Fi. All right, Martin, you go.
Well, I'll touch on mine firstly. Look, the board say they want to do as much as they can to initiate fighter safety, and yet all you're allowed in the corner is water. Now, I get the argument about it could be a sealed bottle, etc., but allowing isotonic drinks into the corner, which have electrolytes, which are proven to rehydrate better than water can, and you know, one of the biggest issues that comes around concussion, around brain injury, is where fighters are dehydrating themselves beyond the limit where is natural or where is reasonable. And so therefore the fluid around the brain starts to dry up and therefore they're more likely to get head injuries. A simple, I mean, going back to what the genesis to the question was, realistic changes, just making that change doesn't cost anything. There's no massive rule changes, etc. Just allowing that. The science is already done to prove the benefit. I don't understand personally why there isn't, and I'm not saying you should just chuck in a shitload of Lucozade Sport, but having something that allows a scientific advancement upon the idea of just having water in the corner.
Okay, Dave, anything to add?
No, I disagree with Martin on that because I think there's too many scientists involved in boxing. I think it's open to abuse. I think, you know, if fighters are fighting at the correct weight and doing the right things, they shouldn't be dehydrated.
But they're not. We all know that.
Sorry,
Martin, sharp. It's not a debate. You've had your say. Pipe down. Pipe down, son. This isn't the House of Commons now.
So if it was good enough years ago, just water in the corner, it's good enough now. I think the issue is not with isotonic drinks. The issue is with fighters just need to crack on with the basics and stop looking for excuses and added benefits. That's my thought on it. I'm definitely 2 people in the corner. Enough.
Okay, Alan.
Yeah, I'm going to side with Martin on this one. I don't see any problem with isotonic drinks, and if well, the current government keep telling us that we've got to listen to the science, and Martin's made some scientific points there. So yeah, I don't see any problem with isotonic drinks. On the second point, 2 people in the corner. Yeah, I agree with Dave. But 2's enough. Keep it down to 2.
Mr. Goodwin, if you put 50p in the meter and your internet's working again, what's your view on it?
Right, isotonic drinks. I mean, it depends on the science, and Martin's probably got more knowledge than most of these scientists that Boris Johnson's employing because they just yes men, so they don't really count. But as far as his isotonic drinks are concerned, I think if doctors and medics say it's fine, I don't see any problem with it. As far as 2 people in the corner, the less the better. There's too many hangers-on with boxers nowadays They have like magic this, magic that, help this, help that, physio this, physio that. I think about time we went back to 2 people. I mean, how many people do you need in the corner or in your backstage team?
So yeah, I mean, so obviously it's three votes to 1 there, Dave. Dave. Sorry, I'd have to side with Martin. I think of the science. I understand your point about the it is open for abuse, and you could have more people playing with it. But I think you could do that anywhere water because the water isn't tested anyway at this point. So I think that is still it doesn't cover with that. 2 people in the corner. Yeah, I don't mind that. I think 4 in the corner is okay. It just depends. What I don't like is when you've got 4 people talking in the corner. It's just confusing for a thing. But so I think we've adopted that if we were the head.
How many people have you been in a corner? You don't need 4 people in a corner. What do they?
No,
don't need 4 people in a corner.
You need a cuts man. You need 1 handing up. You need 1 giving instructions. You probably need 3, but you'd get 2 in a half second. You'd probably cover that.
Exactly.
I could be comfortable with 3. I don't have an issue with it being 4. But I have an issue with 4 people all trying to talk, all giving different instructions. But that's a separate issue. But okay, so thank you for the suggestions on that one. I seem to be carried that one. I think we're going to allow us to make drinks into the corner if we was in charge, and only two people in the corner. Okay, next question.
Dave ain't having it. Dave ain't having it.
Dave ain't having it. Sorry, Dave. Sorry,
You've got to
Dave.
withdraw the whip.
Okay, so the next.
I wouldn't leave anyone in the ring.
Okay, so the next question is this one. Hopefully you can see that all. So it was from MC Ricky Wright, so obviously the MC. I'd like to see referees work outside their area more. Referees reffing the same home fighters all the time. They're open to accusations of collusion. I feel in London the refs are overworked, and in Wales, the northern area, they're underworked. Both can be unproductive. So more balance between all refs making sense. Plus, I think the old Western area should be overseen by the Welsh area councils, close proximity to London. It makes more sense for a ref from Newport to work in Bristol and Kent. I don't think we should pick on the bottom bit about the area. What I do think we should talk about is whether referees should work outside the area and about the open to collusion. Alan, if we start with you, what's your views on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good idea in theory because I think if boxers feel that away boxers in particular feel they're at a disadvantage because they've got home refs are always going to side with a home boxer. We want boxing to be seen as fair and equal. I think we want all fights to be judged fairly. Only thing is, I think obviously if you're going to start importing refs from long distances, that's got to have a cost impact on the promoter. So maybe this could be done, but maybe it would need support from the board. I.e., maybe you have a flat fee, you pay whatever the fee is for a ref, but the board will pick up maybe any additional travel costs or accommodation because if that's needed, because otherwise it's going to get very expensive having lots of refs coming from a long way to referee shows. If they're living in the north and doing it in London, it's going to be very expensive for the promoter.
Yeah, and just to pick up on that, Al, people that don't know might watching this, obviously, if you do have a referee from out of area, the promoter's the one that obviously picks up the bill, like you say. And if there's any travel, etc., travel costs and anything overnight stay has to be picked up by the promoter. So going out of area does put the extra costs on the promoter. I would say it's a good idea in theory. There's a logistical issue as well. If you've got a show on a Friday night, most referees aren't full-time referees. They've got another job. So to get someone to York Hall from Wales on a Friday night when he's been at work till 3 o'clock becomes a logistic area. But in theory, it works, but I don't know if it works in practical. Steve, do you want to add anything in?
I totally agree with Alan, except it's a fantasy if you think the board are going to chip in for the money. So based on the fact that they're not going to give us any money, which they won't, it's one of these things that's great in theory. It's like an ugly bloke wanting a dolly bird. It can be great in theory, but he's never going to get it. And it's the same with
you managed to pull it off. So
yeah, but I'm one of the very few. But I think in reality, it's a really good idea. But the practicalities when you're working on a very small margins is it just can't work financially.
All right, Martin.
Trish is only with Steve for the Wi-Fi connection. turn it on its head. Make the referees pay their own expenses and go with it. They're still going to do the job anyway, and those that don't will drop out of the sport.
Martin Theobald, upsetting referees since 1980.
Keyboard warrior. Keyboard warrior.
Dave, anything to add?
No.
Yeah,
No, I'm done with that.
you know, obviously it all comes down to logistics and cost. But you know, you will get referees. You will get referees who'll take an half a day off work if you, you know, if there's an Anthony Joshua fight in Scotland or wherever it may be. So that's, you know, I don't believe that is the truth. But I think the second part of the question is very relevant because it seems crazy that you get fight. And I'm not sticking up for Ricky's because he's Welsh or what have you, but it does seem completely crazy that you've got referees coming down from the Midlands or Kent to Bristol when the Welsh referees could do that for a lot cheaper. So that is a relevant point. That's all I'd say.
Agreed.
Yeah, we didn't discuss that, but yeah, again, we didn't discuss it. I think it sort of made perfect sense. But so what we're saying on that one, Ricky, if you're interested, if you're watching this, we agree with you. We think it would be a good idea, but we're just not sure whether it would actually be feasible to be able to do it. So there's that one. Hopefully we've answered that one and we're just going to piss people off with it, I'm guessing, because we're not going to go with their their ideas. But
I think we have gone with Ricky. We're just saying, you know, the way they currently.
We think we
the
yeah,
promoter has to pay.
Yeah,
means that it's not going to
But
work.
I know what Martin's saying because I've travelled places to do a job and lost money because I wanted to do the show.
Exactly.
You know.
There will be some that do it for sure. Okay, moving on. The times are pressing. This is the next question about draws. Are both the same. So Tom Ansell says absolutely no draws. He wants them to be banned. And Kerry Stanley Evans, no relation, Dave. One more round to avoid draws. Dave Evans, I don't know if you want to start with this. What do you think about no draws if you was the head of...
In an ideal world, I think it'd be perfect, but in a real world, I think it's just it's a non-goer because, you know, you've got cut-off times at venues to start with. So that's the first issue. And if you paid some chap from Slovakia to do a 4-rounder and it's a draw and you ask him to do another round, I'd pull him out, personally. End of. Simple.
So like the idea, but don't think it's
doable.
Okay, Martin.
And plus the other point is, you know, if it's a big fight, if it's a good fight over 10 or 12 rounds, yes, go again. It makes more money.
Mm-hmm. Martin?
That's my thoughts.
I like the idea in theory. I love the idea of it being a 1-round shootout at the end, but the logistics don't work. The timing, as Dave says, you know, the bout agreements, all that stuff doesn't work. But I love the idea of a shootout.
Okay, Alan?
No, I don't mind a draw. I think the draws sometimes. I think we've all seen fights where you could say it's hard to pick a winner. You know, no one deserves to lose or whatever you say. So I don't think there's anything wrong in having draws personally. I mean, Martin's idea of a 1-round shootout or whatever you want to call it, yeah, I think it would appeal to TV. But I just think, imagine if two boxers have, you know, done 10 rounds, it's a draw. They fight in the 11th round and one of them got really hurt. That would be really bad for boxing. People would say, well, you know, why are you pushing boxers that extra? The draws, what's wrong with the draw? So, no, I'd stick with draws. I don't mind a draw. Mr.
Goodwin?
I actually like the idea, but the practicality of it, the only thing that stops me wanting to do it, you couldn't do it for a 4 or 6 round, right? Because they'll just be coming to the promoter for more dough. So that's not going to happen. But for title fights, the problem is that from the time the last bell goes to the time you get a decision announced with 3 judges can be 4 to 5 minutes. And I don't think you can let a boxer go down and then can't and go into sort of that type of zone and then ask them to go back in the corner and start fighting again. I don't think it's realistic.
Nah, I think I've said it before. Keep them doing pads after the final bell.
Well, I've had that when I was working at corner many years ago in Sheffield. I had that when you know, it was the home fighter was, you know, struggling after 6, and they went again.
Really?
I absolutely love the idea.
Because the Polish lad wasn't having it.
I love the idea. I'd love to get rid of draws. I'd love to have a 1-round shootout. I think you could do it on 4 or 6s. I think you could add it into contracts. I think it could be if it was the standard, everyone would just have to accept it. I think you could factor it into a time, yeah, I'd love it. I think it'd be wicked. I'd love to see a 4-round shootout between a journeyman and a prospect.
But then you get the scenario, wouldn't you? You get the scenario the other side where the home fighter's losing after 4 and the journeyman wants to go.
Yeah.
Not straightforward.
I like
chucking
that.
away the 4th round.
The only one I wouldn't like is obviously if it was if they were more at risk, obviously, if we thought it would be bad risk. But other than that, I think it's a great idea. But I think where it was a vote for like the idea, but it's not practical, basically, I think was the consensus overall. So I didn't get that one, but I think it'll be wicked. Right, okay, moving on. This is the next one. Okay. We had this one multiple times, unsurprising. And this will be the one that if anyone's going to get pissed off with any of the questions, this is going to be the kiddie.
I know what it is.
This is.
Let me guess. I think I know what's coming.
This is going to be the kiddie. Okay, ticket deal. So 6 people there.
Listen, I'm going to be last. Make me answer this last.
Okay, so this is people saying if they were head of British boxing, would rather get rid of ticket deals. All boxers get standard pay. Obviously, standard ticket in. Get rid of ticket sales completely. So basically, boxers don't have to sell a ticket; they just get paid a wage, is what they would get if they were in charge. We will start off with Martin Theobald, and we'll get it over and done with early.
If you can't sell a ticket to your friends and family, why would the general public want to come and watch you box? And therefore, like, how is anyone going to get paid out of it? Like, there's not a pot of money that goes into a show that's just sat there. That money that is paid out has to come from somewhere. Now, again, if you can't convince 100 of your friends and family to come and watch you box, how can any promoter in the world convince 100 strangers off the street to come and watch you box? Like, it's one of the hardships of the sport. And I appreciate it's an absolute bitch of a task, but that's what you're signing up for.
Okay, Martin. Sorry, Dave.
Well, unfortunately, I'm going to sound harsh on this, but if you're a bricklayer and you're expected to lay 300-400 blocks a day, and you can only lay 50 for 220 quid or whatever it may be, why should you have a standardised pay? That's the first point. And the second point is there is no market for this level of boxing. It's going to sound terrible, but there's no market. If you put a show on in a regional theatre and you advertise it on the local press, at posters and what have you, it'll be sold out. But the problem with boxing is it won't. You have to rely on friends and family. So it's just crazy. It's not happening.
Alan?
Yes, I mean, echoing sort of what the other guys have said, it's all about levels, isn't it? I mean, I used to play football. I'd have loved someone to pay me to play football. Truth is, I wasn't good enough. And if I wanted to play football, I had to pay to play. So, it's just about levels. And obviously, the higher you go in boxing, then obviously you can get away from ticket deals. But at the level that the shows we're putting on, unfortunately, as Martin said, ticket deals are part of the package. And if you want to box, you're going to have to sell tickets. And that's what's going to fund the show, because unless people, the boxers, sell the tickets, there's not enough. I mean, I remember when Steve first started out, we were going around putting leaflets through doors in Milton Keynes to get people to come and watch the shows at Milton Keynes. I think the take-up was absolutely minimal. Most of the people who were at that show were through the boxers selling the tickets. There's just not a market, as Dave says, for small boxing that would enable us to just fund it with a pot of money that we collect and pay the boxers. It's just not going to work, unfortunately, at this level.
I totally sympathise with boxing. It is the worst thing in boxing. I wish if we could get rid of it, you could. But I also think boxers look at it wrong. Ticket deals, believe it or not, give the opportunity for people to become professional athletes that wouldn't normally be able to become professional athletes in any other sport. if you're a footballer, if you're not good enough, you don't make it. You can't ever call yourself a professional footballer. What Ticket Deals does, it gives people that, maybe rightly or wrongly, but give people the opportunity to get sponsors, become a professional athlete, have a chance at something. And there's been people that started off on Ticket Deals that's gone on to really, really, do well and make a success of the sport, that wouldn't have had that opportunity if Ticket Deals were around and it was just the big promoters that picked up the, just picked up the people that they had to pay a wage to. If that happened, you would lose a whole load of professional boxers that, and you would miss out on some of the great fights that we've had. If you
would, Kevin, but that's few and far between.
Yeah, there are some that's few and far between, but there are some that go on and do well. So that, there's a lot of people that wouldn't be professional boxers, wouldn't be able to tell their kids professional boxers, wouldn't be able to get sponsors, wouldn't be able to, have a shot at living a dream, so to speak, if that's what you dream to be.
But life's hard, isn't it? You have so many football players who are released because they're too small and so forth. Life is hard.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I think they look at it incorrectly in terms of the fact that I think Ticket Deals are for their worst parts. I do also think there's some good parts. I think it gives people opportunities to become pros that wouldn't be. So, but yeah, go on, Steve, to finish off with, knock it in the net.
Let's start off with John Ryder, Ryan Burnett, Richard Comey, all fought on Ticket Deals. 2 of them became world champions. 1 fought for a world title. So, they had to fight on Ticket Deals. The point about this is the one sport where you could be an unlicensed person, or they had 6 amateur fights, and you can turn professional, where you haven't got. Boxing is one of those sports that doesn't give you a straightforward earning, but everybody knows it when they go into it. Every single person knows, well, if they've been told right. It's just one of those things. You have to earn the right to earn purses, and that is how the sport is. It's how the sport will always be, unless promoters have got backing from TV companies or networks or humongous sponsors. It's just the way of life. And I think it's the same when promoters promote small hall. Eddie Hearn can make millions. Promoters in small hall can lose lots of money. Tommy Dove, I think, lost 6 figures on promoting boxing shows. So promoters lose a lot of money as well, a lot of the time. I think it's just one of those things at that level, very hard for everybody. But for boxers to get guaranteed purses, you wouldn't have promoters. They'd never be able to call themselves professional fighters, and they'd never be able to get that chance where some do break through and become big TV stars.
What I would throw a veil over this, just to end with, we're not unsympathetic for Ticket Deals. We talk at length, a lot of us, about Ticket Deals. We always try and look at ways of reducing or getting rid of them if we can do. So I wanted to throw a veil over this if anyone is pissed off. It is something we constantly talk about. It is something we constantly try to eradicate or ease or whatever. Like, I don't want people to think we just leave it. This is something that we must talk about this on a weekly basis, especially in the office, about different things if we're not looking for different revenues, different stuff like that. So I just wanted to throw.
Live, Kev?
It's recorded, yeah.
Oh no, because I can hear my phone bleeping. I'm just hoping it's not live. It says bleeping, bleeping.
Right, yeah.
You Welsh bastard.
No, it's not out loud. Yeah, but I just wanted to throw a veil over that. I know that might come across a bit cold, but I don't want people to think that we don't. We don't.
I think you're right, Ken. We're all sympathetic to it. Unfortunately, the economics of life mean that it's just not viable without boxers selling tickets at the moment.
I think my friend Terry, Steve's very good friend. He put it very well once. He said, "I'd love to be a rally driver." He said, "But my eyes are fucked. I can't drive, and I can't get in a car like that." But he said, "If I go out and sell 100 tickets for 40 quid each to my mates, it doesn't make me a rally driver."
Yeah. Okay. Right. Okay.
Let's leave this there.
Apparently, though, Martin, I've heard that if you can't see, as long as your name's Dominic Cummings, you could still be a rally driver.
That's amazing. That's how you managed to crowbar that in. That's amazing. Right, okay, moving swiftly on. Okay, so this is 2 people that said 3-minute rounds for women boxing. Alan, we'll start with you, but so if they were the head of BBFC, they'd change to 3 minutes for women. What's your take on it, Al?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, you know, most walks of life now, quality is a big thing, isn't it? People trying to be equal, and provided it's deemed safe. I mean, presuming women fight for 2 minutes because at one time it was deemed that we weren't physically able to do 3 rounds like the men. But I think, you know, things are changing now, and yeah, I don't see why not. If the ball thought it was a safe thing to do, yeah, go for it. 3 minutes for women.
Martin, you got some insight in this as well, haven't you?
Yeah, well, the science behind it is around the damage that's taken around the neck area, and the fact that women's spine/neck area around the top isn't as strong as men's, and they're more susceptible to taking damage over a longer period of time, which is why it's always been limited to the 2 minutes, and the reticence to move it up to 3 minutes. But quite how updated that science and exploration behind it is, because now it's a more, you know, you've got higher skilled, better physically trained female athletes now than you ever have in the sport. Perhaps it's something that should be reinvestigated.
Yeah,
you'd have a
Steve?
wider case study now.
Steve?
Well, I mean, if Martin's saying there's a medical issue, then you've got to leave them at 2 minute rounds. But with some of the money that they get paid, then I think they should be doing 3 minutes, because women always want equality, and fair enough, got no problem with that. Well, then they should do the same for their money, just the same as at Wimbledon. They should do 5 sets of tennis if they want the same pay.
Just women can do 3 minute rounds in boxing. It has to be mutually agreed by both parties, but women can currently, under the rules, do 3 minutes if they want to.
Didn't Nicola Adams do a 3 minute round fight over in America? I don't think it was here.
Can't remember off the top of my head, but like I say, women can, even under BBFC, you can do 3 minutes if mutually agreed. They generally go for 2 minutes. I'm of the view of if it's safe, then yeah, no problems. Crack on, Dave.
I believe I totally agree that it should be 3 minutes round for a number of reasons, because we get more stoppages, because women's boxing is quite dragged out because we don't get many stoppages. But you remember before, you know, all women had to wear 10-ounce gloves up till about 2 years ago, and now they've fallen in line with men. But I'm told, and I don't know the ins and outs of it, the reason they don't do 3 minutes is something to do with the way they make the weight, because women retain water different to men. It's some type of scientific thing. So
it'll be different times of month as well. The influence.
Okay, so
probably something to do with Martin. What Martin was saying, I'm not sure.
I think we're on the basis of that we're happy with it. So you know, we would be okay with it to go with it if it was deemed to be safe and no extra issues. Moving on, because we've only got about 6 minutes before we'll have to restart again, gents. This is the next one. So a few people were saying Tony Pill said to have 3 judges for all fights, especially all domestic title fights. Ramez Mahmoud's put, obviously there's pros and cons, referees use scorecard, and then only used in the event of a draw. So he's talking about in a championship fight, have 3 judges and the ref's card. And that obviously Patrick Bate has put, he wants 5 judges. I'm assuming that's on championships. Steve, if we start with you, what's your views on 3 judges for all fights, 5 judges for championship fights, and the ref having an extra card? We've only got 5 minutes to get through this, so
let's start off. We've got a prospect fighting. Starting off, he's 1-0. He's fighting somebody who's had 3 wins and 100 losses. He's just learning his trade, but we've got to pay for 3 judges. So first thing is going to happen is he's going to have to pay. It's going to cost him another £150 to fight. He's got to sell another 4 tickets. I don't think he's going to be overly impressed with having to do that. That seems rather pointless. We get 3 judges, obviously, for English title fights. The problem you've got here is we know and you know, we've had English title fights with 3 judges, and they've been just as controversial as Southern Area titles with 1 referee. In fact, I could probably harp on with some English title fights where I think they've scored it woefully wrong. So I don't think if you're doing it because you want a fairer judging system, I don't think that's proven. I can give you more instances of 3 judges where they've got it wrong, rather, in my opinion, rather than 1. But yeah, it's cost again. We're back on cost. If you're adding cost, it's gonna put more onus on the box at Small Hall. If you're doing it on to Eddie Hearn or Frank Warren, well, they can afford it, so crack on if that's what you want to do. It's no problem. I'm talking purely from a Small Hall perspective, but I think from an Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren perspective for TV fights, I think that's okay. They can do that if they want. It's not a big issue, but Small Hall, it's cost prohibitive.
Just to explain to people what people don't understand as well, when you have judges on a fight, if you have 2 fights that have to be judged, the judges get paid twice. So it doubles up, their money doubles up. They don't get paid one set fee for the whole night. They get paid per fight. So if you had a 10-fight card and you had judges in every one, the judges would be paid 10 times. And that would be the issue in terms of cost as it ramps up. Not a lot of people know that. They think it works the same as the referees, that it's a set price or not. But no, for judges, you get paid per fight. If you have the same 2 judges for 2 fights, they get paid twice. So yes, a cost wouldn't allow it.
Remember the referee. For the English title, they get paid. The referees get paid again for the English
and the
title,
refs get paid again. Yeah, exactly. Yes, but Alan.
Yeah, not to add really to what Steve just said. You know, it's going to be costs at Small Hall level. It would just be, you know, because costs would escalate so much, it just wouldn't be viable. Nice in theory. I don't think for all fights, for maybe title fights, I can understand people wanting maybe to see 3 judges rather than just a ref. But not for the, you know, your regular Small Hall fight. 3 judges would be over the top and too expensive.
There's an argument for southern areas. There's an argument for southern areas.
Yeah, I agree with something if it works. Dave?
I've got no argument. I think on it's just a cost again. It just comes down to cost, and I've got no argument with the 40-36 for a home fighter anywhere in the world. No, I'm joking. No, I've got no argument with the referee scoring the fight. None at all. Okay,
and Martin?
I think all title fights, Southern area upwards, should have 3. Because I think when you look at the job of a referee, to then also be scoring all of those aspects that you're looking for as a referee over 10 rounds, I wouldn't fancy that job. But anything below that, no, leave it to the ref, because like 90% of fights below that level are, to some extent, they should be one-sided enough that if you can't do a decent enough job to convince one man, you probably can't convince 3 either.
I'm just do a quick show of hands because we're literally coming into the last minute. Ramez Mahmood said if you had 3 judges, then the referee would scorecard, and that scorecard would be used in the event of a draw. Hands up if you think that's a good idea, or hands down if you think it's not.
Yeah,
I think it's a good idea.
I'm up for that.
Okay, yeah. There you go. Right, gents, I'm going to end this now, and I'll click the link again, and then we will pick it up with the last couple of questions. Okay, gents, so we're back up and running now. Steve's changed location as well now, which will freak people out. If you're watching the video, we're going to hopefully upload to YouTube. So we've only got a couple more questions left that we've picked out to answer. This one is from Ben Crook. This is, he would get rid of same-day weigh-ins if he was head of the British Boxing Board of Control.
Get rid of or have them?
No, as in he would. I'm assuming he's saying would get rid of. It would be what would you change, and he would change the same day weigh-in.
Oh, okay.
So I'm assuming he's getting rid of. I'll go first on this one. I wouldn't get rid of it. I actually would get rid of day before weigh-ins. If you look at the statistics of brain bleeds, it tends to be people that have had the day before weigh-in. I think day before weigh-ins push boxers to try and risk it. I think they can get down further weight. I think they take more risks, thinking that's all right, I've got 24 hours to recuperate. I think you make everything on the day. You'll find people really fight at their true weights. I'm not saying there hasn't been bleeds with on the day weigh-ins, because I'm sure there has. But if you look at the most recent ones, they tend to be they've been day before. Could be. What could run parallel with that is obviously it's higher caliber fight, so bigger.
But then look, was it Mick Collier says at the area council, what's the one weight that has suffered the least amount of blood bleeds on heavyweight?
Yeah, heavyweights haven't statistically lower in brain. I think there's only ever been one. I think Mick says his number. I think there has been one. But if you look at statistics, there's it is much lower because obviously they don't have to crash the weight. I don't know if anyone's Martin. If we start with you, I don't know if you've got any views on if you would get rid of day on the day weigh-ins.
No, I would just make everything on the day weigh-in. I think I'm with you, Kev. I think it's Yeah, madness. Especially when you have the day before weigh-in, and then you're only allowed under the IBF rules. Is it £10 additional weight? So you've got lads. Look at Kell Brook or whatever. Who Hearn has told us for years and years struggles to make 147. So he struggles to make it, and then he's only allowed, when he held the IBF title, to put on the 10 additional pounds. What damage has he done to himself over the years through doing that? It's madness. I would just enforce same-day weigh-ins and make people fight at a weight that's realistic.
Steve?
He did more damage getting in with Gennady Golovkin, that's for sure. That's one.
He didn't do more damage to his bank balance with that, but that's a separate issue. Steve, have you got anything to say on the day?
Let's go back on. I'm going to sound like a broken record. Small hall boxing. You're going to get Freddie from the Czech Republic weighing in the day before, fly him in an extra day, putting him in a hotel. The opponents from up north have got to take a days off work. The opponents on a 4-rounder, drag them down, put them in hotels. Totally unaffordable for small hall boxing. So that's the end of that from small hall. From the other aspect, you're never going to. I understand why we could do on the day weigh-ins, but it's a worldwide thing, so it's never going to change. So the question was same day weigh-ins for all. No, absolutely not.
Alan?
And I do agree from the weight perspective as well. I think that you want to keep everything as it is. I mean, I know the big shows do it day before, don't they? But that's only because they make a bigger spectacle of it and they got the money to do it. But small hall, I mean, because I suppose day before weigh-ins for the big shows, that does happen, isn't it? So I guess he's talking about on the day weigh-ins for. He must be talking small hall because all Eddie Earns and Frank Warrens do weigh-in day before.
Yeah, I think he's saying he'd get rid of so hopefully, Ben, we've interpreted that right, but I think he's saying that he would get rid of all on the day weigh-ins and have everything the day before.
Yeah, and that's only applicable to small hall, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah, exactly.
From a cost perspective, that's never going to happen.
Because I think people perceive that the day before is safer, which may or may not, but the brain bleeds doesn't hint it. The statistics doesn't necessarily. To my knowledge, I could be wrong, but I don't think. Alan, anything to add?
Yeah, well, like Steve, I originally thought the suggestion was that he wanted to have same day weigh-ins rather than day before. But so I agree with him if he is suggesting same day weigh-ins. But if he's suggesting day weigh-ins the day before, no, I disagree. I'll agree with what's been said before. No, have it on the day. Steve says small hall is cost effective. And what Martin said, about safer and people find that they're truer weight. So for me, it's got to be on the day weigh-ins, definitely.
Mr. Evans?
Yeah, I think everything should be on the day weigh-ins, because I remember seeing a couple of years ago, probably 10 years ago now, Paul Williams from America was a welterweight, 6'3", weighed in 10 stone 7 on the day, and then the next day weighed in 12 stone 3. Some of these people are not winning fights by their skill; they're winning fights on the scales, and they're basically cheating. It shouldn't come down to the weight. It should come down to the skill of the boxer. Same day's weigh-ins. Get yourself in there. Come on.
Fair enough. Okay, so hopefully, Ben, we've hopefully covered it both ways, whichever way you interpreted it. But yeah, okay. So we're coming to the final. The final question, which is one that I think is on everybody's agenda if they become the head of the British Boxing Board of Control. Oliver McManus says that if he was the head of British Boxing Board of Control, he would get a solid gold statue of Steve outside York Hall. We'll leave you to last, Steve. Alan, do you want to start? If you was the head, would you have a gold statue?
Do I have to?
Well, to go with the one that's outside the front of your house, Al. I didn't know if you'd have that one moved. Steve, what do you think about that? You think about the old the solid gold?
I think it's the best idea that we've had all night. The best idea, brilliant idea.
We've got Tony Adams outside the Emirates, so Steve Goodwin outside York Hall seems quite appropriate, I think.
I'm all good for it as long as it's Thai gold.
Right, and I don't suppose you've got anything to add to the solid gold. Well, you probably have got something to add, but
I want to know if the statue can do 100 tickets. If it can, we'll get it.
Can you imagine
100 tickets for everyone?
Yeah. Can you imagine a statue of Steve outside York Hall? Jesus Christ! If that place not run down enough as it is, without sticking that out the front.
Yeah, it'll be worth more than York Hall, wouldn't it?
Right.
Can we
Gents,
invest in the changing rooms instead?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the. It's not as
Yeah.
glamorous at the back.
A
Right, gents.
toilet would be nice.
One that flushes. Right, gents. I think we've covered. We had
Before we go, one thing. Everybody predict when we're going to do our next show.
September.
Ooh.
September. Go on then. Al,
March.
Martin,
February.
February. Martin?
Have you got anything booked between September and December?
Yeah.
Yeah, November, December.
December.
December. And you think September? Okay.
Well, I've been optimistic. Just being optimistic.
What about you then, Steve?
I think it depends on when we get this vaccine or treatment. Hinges on that. I don't think we run until we get some medical. But again, I'm confident we're going to get some medical stuff September, October. And again, it depends on
On that basis,
When do you reckon we'll see? When do you reckon we'll see Matchroom kick off?
They're going to go the second week of July. They're going.
I know that's end of July.
They're going the second week in July, and they're going 4 weeks in a row. 4 weeks, one after the other, called Fight Camp.
Is this recorded now, Kev?
It's still recording at the moment. We haven't.
So second week of July, but no gyms are allowed to open for sparring until the beginning of June.
That's what.
Well, yeah.
No, but they can. The elite athletes can go back to the gym, can't they? That was released the other day.
The board have issued a notice saying, despite the fact elite athletes can be trained, they're not authorising sparring.
They recommend sparring. Yeah.
So you can't go back for sparring as yet until the medical advisors have said yes to the board.
Yeah,
I think
we reckon 6 weeks.
I think that'll be next week, though. I think they'll.
Money talks, I say you. Money talks.
But that's what he said. He said. Hearn said on Instagram Live the other day that they're looking at the second week of July, hopefully around that sort of thing. So
he wouldn't bullshit anything.
So no. Well, who knows?
Recording, Kev.
I don't. It's still recording. Yeah, we'll do. Hang on, we were just finishing it off. We're just at Steve threw it in. Okay, gents. So again, thank you for that. We picked some of the questions. We had loads.
Will Jabbar and Joyce go ahead, do you reckon?
No.
Don't know.
They won't fight. Because Frank won't do it unless he's going to be able to do it in the O2. He's talking about doing the O2 in September. I cannot see for the life of me there being, this is my view, a big arena filled up in September. You might get some allowance to do a very small show. That would be the best chance you get 200 or 300 people or something in it.
I heard he's doing it at Catford Town Hall.
Well, I can still buy.
Anyway, right, hang on. Let me bring an end to this recording, and then we can chat after that. So, gents, that was the answer most of the questions we had for the head of the BUS. We had loads of comments on it. That was some of the ones we picked. Hopefully, we've answered it. I know it was a bit relaxed, and a couple of us having a drink in that. So, appreciate your time and asking this. So, I'll end the recording now.